about mobile-enabled shopping. So before we do that, I just want you to know that if you have any questions or anything throughout, just shout it out. You can't hurt me. I am a New York Jets, Mets, Islanders fan, so I am immune to everything, so we can handle it. So mobile-enabled shopping is the same thing. I'm going to introduce our panelists, have them introduce themselves and talk about their companies and why they're important in this space. We'll start with John Kaloran from AdPay. John?
Hi, everybody. Met most of you yesterday. With AdPay, we've invented a way to do the transaction through the channel of email. So within an email, we can make a transaction go back and forth. And we can launch those from QR codes. We can launch that from mobile web. We can launch that from web. And of course, we can launch that email transaction from another email. So that's what AdPay is about.
And Andrew, introduce yourself.
Hi, Andrew Ling, President and CEO of ZipRemit. And what we do is we facilitate merchant-branded microloans ranging from $500 up to $5,000 for their consumers to have an alternative payment option for their purchases at that merchant site.
So we talk about mobile-enabled shopping, and that involves various aspects. That involves the engagement process, or exploration process where consumers and merchants kind of find each other, the shopping aspect or picking out services, and then payment. Both of you gentlemen have kind of a background in payments and other types of technologies like that. Is there too much emphasis placed on payments? We are at the Mobile Payments Conference, but is there too much emphasis placed on payments and not enough on the marketing aspect and the engagement aspect? Andy, why don't we start with you?
I don't believe that there's too much emphasis on payments, but I will probably agree with the prior speakers who have propounded that there should be more value added in that shopping experience. Definitely agree with that. And so maybe in terms of marketing and providing value-added services in that shopping experience, yes. And so where we're focused is just augmenting that payment process or that shopping experience by giving the consumer an alternative to have a revolving line of credit at that merchant facility. And our premise is to empower that merchant, especially small to medium-sized merchants, where they can provide this as an additional service to their consumers, where the consumer will be captured and allowed to keep shopping at that merchant site and not leave the merchant. Because in our opinion, it's the merchant's customer. And so therefore, we want to empower that merchant to retain that customer.
John, what do you think?
Yeah, Glenn, I'm a little confused by the question in the sense that when you say too much emphasis on payments, when you say payments, what do you mean?
Well, the actual transaction as opposed to the marketing and delivering offers and promotions and things like that in that type of engagement.
I mean, there's too much effort being put into the technology and the engineering.
And too much emphasis on the payment side.
Getting the electrons to flow and money to be created kind of thing. Right. Yeah, I actually agree with you. I think there is almost too much emphasis on that. And I'm trying to figure out the best way to approach this. The current system works. It's really, for me, it's a question of how do you just make it easier for that customer, so they'll actually, so Homo sapien will want to do that thing. And, we throw so much new stuff at people. I think it's probably good long-term for not getting Alzheimer's or something, because we're constantly being, embracing new ways, new user interfaces, new things. I just dread updating my iOS, because they're going to move things around and it's going to be a different spot. So I don't think there's enough emphasis put on the usability and making it just a really simple way for people to give or to buy stuff.
Then do you think in terms of, let's say, payments, for example, is there enough option for the consumer? Most payment services are linked to a credit card, for example, or a debit card. Is that sufficient, or does the playing field need to be opened up in terms of other types of, payment types of payment solutions?
My first thought is it's enough in a sense that, keep it simple. People want to live their life. They don't want to become payment technology experts and understanding all these various ways to flow money. Because, well, to the customer, it doesn't really make much difference. I mean, you know, you've got Bitcoin coming, and it's super cool, and it's Star Trek-y, and it's, you know, it really is just a fascinating type of currency. But, you know, Bitcoin's isn't doing anything for the customer that I've seen. So, you know, the idea of having to make that available, there's no benefit to the customer right now. There's no added benefit to using as opposed to
Right
using
now.
a credit card. Right now, exactly.
Right.
So until, like, these other forms give some benefit to, some additional benefit, I'm just trying to imagine what an additional benefit could be. Like, first thing that comes to mind is like, all right, if there's some way that the cost savings could be passed on to the customer, then maybe now, yeah, that should be offered out to people. But, you know, I think the credit card thing is great. It's convenient for people. It works. I think people get touchy about ACH and touching their bank account. So you're just going to freak people out with too much of that. So I'm kind of cool with the way it is right now until something appears that provides that benefit.
So Andy, what do you think? Too much linkage to the credit card?
We just want to provide yet another option for the merchant. So if we can save the merchant a significant amount of interchange fees, and they can pass those savings back to their customer to make the purchase, you know, that's what our focus is. We want to have them have a merchant-branded alternative payment option for their consumers, and save them money.
Yeah, that's great. If you can save them money, now you're talking. Yeah, that's a benefit to somebody.
So the previous panel talked a lot about generational change. The younger consumers, you know, have no problem giving up data privacy. And the research shows, however, that they are probably not likely to use debit cards. You know, that is not, you know, many younger consumers don't have credit cards now. They may have it down the road. You know, some may have debit cards. Some may use other forms of payment. So how do you accommodate these, you know, cultural changes? Because they seem to not only want, you know, gave up privacy, you know, consciously, they also want to pay other methods. So how can you serve those needs?
So how are they looking to pay?
Some pay by debit card, some will still want to pay through ACH and have checks, some still, you know, carry cash, but there seems, the figures show that less and less carry credit card. So how do you accommodate those generational changes in terms of shopping?
So we would open up a virtual account. We don't necessarily issue a plastic credit card, but it's like a credit card, but it's virtual. So if you are shopping regularly online at a particular merchant, and they're providing you with this revolving line of credit to use for your recurring purchases, that would be one way of making those purchases through their mobile device.
John, do you see other types of payment forms that, you know, kind of can factor? You mentioned Bitcoin eventually, you know, being something
Right.
tangible down the road.
At some point.
Yeah, okay, at some point.
Yeah.
Okay. What about in terms of privacy? You know, because we find generationally, people give up their privacy now. In terms of shopping, what are some of the things that you see that merchants are now willing to do probably a little more frequently than, you know, recently that they haven't done in the past? John?
Yeah, no, I see them, I mean, they're definitely jumping into the circus, if you will. You know, all these things are becoming available. They're gearing up, and they're understanding the various technologies. And so we definitely see a more willing and interested merchant, and especially as the younger generation becomes those merchants. You know, they're very connected to it. So they're actually very, very into it.
Okay. Andy?
I have to agree with John.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Any questions?
Our participating bank processes that transaction. So what we do is we pass the credit application from the merchant, and we pass it to the underwriter. That underwriter may also just do the loan directly, or they connect with the bank, our participating bank. We pass back that credit approval with under a minute, and they may be, if they apply for, say, $5,000 based on their credit score, maybe they get approval for $4,000. We help, our whole transaction process is closed loop, so we complete the transaction at that merchant site for the merchant.
John, we spoke earlier, and you talked a lot about how not-for-profit organizations can leverage, mobility and mobile commerce type technology. Can you kind of elaborate that? Because, as we said, this has kind of been geared, a lot of conversation has been geared to the enterprise. But I think, now, from what we've seen, the time has come where it should really be deployed by the smaller merchants. Would you agree?
Mm-hmm.
And
Absolutely.
not-for-profits would certainly fit into a smaller type of merchant.
Absolutely. There's the number of non-for-profits is, I think, 1.3 million nonprofits, I think, in the United States, and that's a lot of nonprofits, right? That's a lot of causes, and that's a lot of soliciting, trying to get people to donate to your cause. So it's a competitive landscape, so they have to find a way to get in front and to maintain their constituents and, get repeat donations and on and on and on. So I don't know if you've worked with nonprofits very much, but they're extremely protective of their list, their donor list. They don't want, my God, if you tell the cancer that American Lung is going to get their list, that's a nightmare to them. They're just so yeah, we absolutely see it. And another way where we see it, there's a lot of event stuff that goes on in the nonprofit world, and what's driving it is just how bad the event software is that they have to use. It's all, hosted solutions that you have to log into and do all this stuff, and you're trying to get 15 of your friends to donate, and they're just horrific systems. So there's a lot of cry from, the people who are doing the team stuff for these nonprofits to find better, easier ways to help me collect the money from my people. So they're getting it from their own need, and then from the people who are helping them are demanding it.
Andy, from your perspective, many small merchants want to retain that customer data. So they're very hesitant to integrate with other types of systems, cloud-based technologies and analytics and things like that. So is this something that, that you think has certainly been a red flag on behalf of the small merchants that want to deploy these types of technologies?
We want to augment the merchants' concern about retaining their customer. We want them to also have that customer, we believe it's their customer, to go back and make recurring purchases at that merchant site, which is one of the reasons why we want it to be merchant branded. We want the consumer experience to have it all revolve around that merchant. So as far as the consumer is concerned, that merchant is providing them that service, that added payment option for a revolving credit facility. So we want to retain customer loyalty for that merchant. It is not part of our game plan to grab any kind of customer information.
So that's a non-starter, in your opinion, that data, a merchant giving up data?
So we don't really get much consumer data. We're getting a portion of that credit application, and we're just passing it directly to the underwriter and just passing it back, but we don't retain that full consumer information. It's between the lender and the merchant now, and the consumer.
So John, you talked about donor lists, which obviously is very important to, to a not-for-profit. So what does AdPay do to protect the data?
That's a great question, because we don't share the information with the nonprofits. And what the nonprofits are looking at is, hey, we want to get as many of our people 2 clicks away from giving as possible. And they realize they're building that. But they also understand that, once you have a membership with AdPay, that if you get that 2-click button from anywhere, it's 2 clicks. And at first, the nonprofits absolutely, their knuckles go white. They clench their hands. Their knuckles go white, and we're like, now we're not giving any information unless the person makes an action to pay that other nonprofit. That's when the other nonprofit would get information, and then everybody seems fine with that. So that's the way we do it.
So what are some strategies that you would recommend? We'll go 2-part question, that enterprises should look at to really seamlessly deploy a mobile, we'll say a comprehensive mobile commerce that encompasses marketing and payment, and all the interaction in between. And then, what would an SMB do? So Andy, we'll start with you.
Well, our focus is a niche part of that entire purchase process. So we're just another option for payment, but we're not a front-end application. We're just kind of behind the scenes supporting the merchant. So I would say that our role would be to augment whatever the merchant is already deploying on an e-commerce site, for example. So we were actually kind of brainstorming about how AdPay could provide more value. And one idea, for example, would be an AdPay branded revolving line of credit for their merchants. So it's another service that AdPay can provide for their network of merchants.
Okay. John, what are some strategies that you?
I mean, I think, you have to look at every channel. And by the way, I mean, that's a big question that you're
Yes.
asking, right? And I'm very pragmatic, and I'm not as smart as others, so I'm going to give you my pragmatic response.
That's fine.
I think, there's so much going on out there about data, and they want to see click-through rates, and they want to see this, and they want to see that. And I feel like so many retailers, organizations, they're not focusing on the goal, which is more sales, like convert, I heard a guy tell a story, it was absolutely hilarious. He said, he was checking his phone because he wanted to see the Jets. Actually, they were trading Revis a couple of years ago from the Jets.
Oh, I remember that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And this is actually Gary Vee. He's hilarious. He does his own media company, and he did a presentation, and he told the funniest story. He said, "Here I am, a Jets fan, and they're trading Revis to Tampa Bay, and I'm at a conference, and every minute I'm in the bathroom, or every time I'm checking it, I'm trying to pull it up to see if the trade went through, what's going on." And he's like, and there was some company like Samsung or something. He says, and I would go to refresh the page, and Samsung had like a little click-through banner or something. And my fingers were too big, and I'd occasionally hit the wrong place, and it would take me to the Samsung site. And it must have happened 15 times that day. And he says, there's some marketing guy at Samsung jumping up and down like, woohoo, we're doing great. But he doesn't realize he just made a sworn enemy. I hate, and this guy's funny, he drops all these F-bombs. He's like, I hate Samsung. Every time I get on stage, I give them a hard time now because on this day that I'm stressing out, I'm keep getting redirected to a Samsung site. I'm just trying to find out if Revis is getting traded or not. And so I think there's way too much effort into that. And I think it's frustrating and it's annoying to people. I think you just need to focus on, here are your channels. I think of people in a very biological sense. I was an environmental consultant in my earlier life, and we would do all these natural resource studies where we'd be like, okay, we're doing a small mammal study, we're doing this kind of study. So I think in terms of migratory paths. Okay, and then when you get into the retail world, I think the same way. It's like, where are your customers, where are they going, how do they access you? And get in those areas and make it simple. So they should have a great mobile web strategy that has a really quick checkout. They should have a great email strategy because they're reaching people by email, and they should make it easy to convert from that. Don't make it hard. Same on their website. And I don't think it's that sophisticated. I don't think it's that complicated. It's just, keep it simple and don't make it painful. I mean, it's basic stuff. So that's my opinion.
And that is not what you're seeing now? Do you see
No,
complexity?
Complexity. Okay. I mean, it's ludicrous when you like I bought an airplane ticket from US Air today, and it was brutal. It was brutal. I usually fly Southwest, which is easier. They do a better job at it.
Wait till you fly US Air, and then, that's when the real fun kicks in.
Right. So, and I see it on so many websites where they want more information on me on different screens, and they know that people are dropping off. They have the data. They know they're dropping off, but they don't seem to be able to put two and two together and realize that, it equals 4, and that they just need to get the sale. I was at a mobile conference, and I heard this person from a major retail brand say, like, that she wasn't even talking about converting from mobile. Like, it wasn't even in the dialect of so many of the speakers. This was last year. It's at Mobile Shopping 2013, I think was the conference. And she said, at our brand, and this, I think it was fortunate that the CEO of that company wasn't in the room when she said this, but she says, we don't even care about converting from a mobile phone. We just want to push our brand. And I just thought, oh my God, that is crazy talk, you know? That is just crazy talk. No, you're in retail, you know? You're in retail what? To sell stuff, right? Isn't that what retailers do? But in so many places, it seems not to be the...
And so what we want to do is add one more component to this easy shopping experience. We want to create a no-brainer wow moment for that consumer at that merchant site. So there's another button in the shopping experience, and apply for a revolving line of credit. You're a regular customer here. You've been approved for $3,000. Wow. I'm going to close that transaction right now. Boom, right there. And it's a captive consumer now because they're going to use that revolving credit facility at that merchant site. And recurring revenue is also key. So every time there's a purchase, oh, and by the way, we cut those interchange fees by 1.5.
And think about it this way. I mean, we'd name the button, loan it to me. You know, loan me the money. You know, you're later, there's a buy button, and then there's a loan me the money button. Oh my God, like people would just, unfortunately, go for that like all the time.
Well, unfortunately for the retailer, right?
And we also cover unanticipated or emergency events. So, for example, a car accident. So you go to a body shop and you're past your deductible. You don't want to make an insurance claim. Apply for this revolving credit facility and get that body work done. Or I need those 4 tires because I've got a flat. Or I need knee surgery. Haven't met my deductible. I don't want to put it on my credit card. I got to get it done. Or cosmetic surgery. All these different type of unanticipated or discretionary purchases that we can cover in scenarios like this through still a simple shopping experience.
So, a couple more questions. Things like NFC and beacons, do they complicate or do they streamline the the mobile commerce experience?
As far as I'm concerned, as long as you get to the internet, it's just and you're able to make a purchase through a device, as long as you get there somehow and the consumer doesn't walk away and is not pissed off about it through their experience, doesn't have a privacy concern. If you can get through all those machinations and just get there to the simple shopping experience, we'll take it from there.
Okay.
Yeah, I like
Josh?
beacons in the sense that like you can learn your behavior of people in your store and things like that. I think that's totally cool. And it's almost your duty to the consumer to do that, you know, to see what part of your store totally sucks. And, no one ever goes and, it's not great. And so you're just improving the experience. But, it's like the whole sales experience. If the salesperson is overbearing in any way, it's a lousy experience. They're going to lose customers, and it's just like every other thing. You have to play it right.
So it's all about the execution, I guess.
It really is.
Okay.
It really is.
Questions? Anyone? Mr. Britt. Yes, sir.
I work for Mr. Ling, but in the last 2 months, there have been a lot of reports coming out about the overhang of college debt, followed by the next shoe to drop they think is going to be the overhang of auto debt. So, how do you think that's going to affect the merchants? And if you're, offering lines of credit, how is that going to affect, the purchasing power of this generation coming up that's going to be using mobile?
So, as of today, because our loans are microloans up to $5,000, the lender is assuming all the risk based on a credit score. So if you already have a strong credit score, you're going to be approved up to, say, the maximum applied amount. We may start getting to larger amounts of $10,000, but right now our play is this real microloan niche space. So as far as the merchant's concerned, the body shop, they've already received an ACH transfer for the entire amount. So they don't have any other need for a lien on the car to collect. They've already been paid by the lender directly. So now the lenders assume the risk. So in a college loan situation, if our loan product can help that student up to $5,000 based on their credit score, love to be able to help them.
Okay. So, one more question. You guys are obviously, besides in the mobile commerce business with your businesses, you're also consumers. So what do you like from your own personal experiences? What works for you? What are some experiences or engagements that have been particularly pleasant and seamless? So John, why don't we start with you?
Sure. I talked about yesterday the Kindle. My God, I read the entire Jack Reacher series, like all 14 books, because every time I finished, it was just such a seamless two-click thing onto the next book. It was just great, absolutely great. The Southwest experience, you know, it's very easy for me to buy a ticket on Southwest. It remembers my credit card in the right place, and it just does it, and it, you know, I'm almost always
Did you
logged
buy
in.
it on your phone or on a website? I mean,
On the website.
computer. On the computer.
Yeah, on the
Okay.
computer is where I usually do that. And it's just very, very easy. So those are two that come to mind immediately as great buying experiences.
So for me, it would be Southwest, and I've done it on my smartphone. The
Right.
second one would be Amazon.com. Also because I can return something, and I know that if I return it, I'll get an instant credit back to my card on file. But the next scenario would be, as I was speaking with John before our session, is my water bill. So where I live in Marin County, they may or may not send you an email to remind you of your water bill payment. And sometimes I just overlook that email. So if I got another email again saying, hey, your bill is due in 3 days because I didn't click on anything, I didn't arrange for a payment. If I got another friendly reminder for my water bill, because I don't want to have to worry about my water bill and just click and just pay for it using this type of solution, that would remove a big headache for me. I don't want to have to keep going to every single separate website, register, use a username and a password, and then keep forgetting my username and my password at all my different sites and trying to be proactive in trying to pay my bills. I just want a friendly reminder, click a link and pay it. And I also don't want to register my credit card or my cards at multiple sites either. I happen to trust Amazon.com and Southwest Airlines, so I have those cards registered.
So those are experiences that work well for you, and I'm
Yes.
sure there's, countless experience things. So what didn't work? What are some examples, without naming companies, things that you found particularly irksome?
I think we
in
should
the
name
mobile commerce
companies.
world?
I think we should name companies. I think they deserve it. You know, if you're going to put that stuff out there and cause pain to people, I think we should name names.
Well, you were mentioning Samsung, so there's, that's one name.
The funny thing about that is this guy is a fantastic presenter, Gary Vee. I can't pronounce his last name. It's like a Russian New York name. But I think he has brought way more attention and interest to Samsung because he's always jumping up and down complaining about them. But I think it's working out for Samsung. Like, all publicity is good publicity in
I
that
think
case.
Samsung's doing okay, though.
Yeah, they're doing all right.
Andy, what about you? What are some
You know,
examples of things that you did not find particularly pleasant?
The municipal water site, just trying to make a payment. I had to call them 3 or 4 times to tell them that, one, I didn't get an email, I didn't get a bill, my transaction didn't go through. It was very cumbersome with the county.
So to sum up, let's say if you mentioned football, use that as an analogy. Where are we on the football field in terms of potential and mobile commerce? Are we at the 5-yard line with 95 yards ago? Are we further downfield? Where are we in that continuum?
Boy, good question. I like to say with AdPay, we're at the 5-yard line ready to score.
Okay.
But I think, I don't know where we are. That's a really big question because mobile's changing. It's changing so rapidly. And but there's been very little that happens. So I'd have to say we're still at the 5-yard line with 95 to go.
Okay.
The stat, I think, of all transactions, it's still below 1% of all electronic transactions happen through a smartphone. So maybe we're at the 1 yard line with 99 to go.
And
So as the industry starts plowing through this penumbra of all these players that were shown up on the screen earlier, and as we start finding a way, and people are still going to be using their credit cards, absolutely. But my concern is I want to support the small to medium-sized merchants as well. So how can they make their e-commerce business more successful? How can we help them save a significant amount of money, add more to their bottom line, and retain their customer loyalty and generate more recurring revenue? However way they run their e-commerce, whether it uses a smartphone device, a beacon, and so forth, as long as they keep it simple, I believe that, and I hope that they will, we want to focus on making that, augmenting their e-commerce portfolio.
anything else? Everyone wants to learn
I'd like to
how-
add on to that point real quick.
Yeah, sure.
With the, especially with the small to medium-sized businesses, I mean, this is, this is the livelihood of so many people. And it's, we have this dwindling middle class, and that's a chance for the middle class to kind of rise up a bit. And I think when mobile is there is when it's really easy for these unsophisticated small to mid-sized businesses to plug into a mobile solution. I think that's when mobile's really great.
So that's the tipping point.
So what we do is we'll provide the solution for them at no cost. We'll add that button on their website to provide this alternative payment option. So that's part of our business model, is to help support them by doing the, for lack of a better term, the integration on their website for them and to link to their APIs.
All right, thank you very much.
Oh, question?
Oh, I'm sorry, yes. No, we want to make it official, I'm sorry.
They want to get you on film.
Well, I'm sorry to hold everyone else up, but, and Andrew, I was wondering if you could talk about the kind of lift or benefits people see from the micro lending. I mean, we know that credit works very well on the payment side of things. So do you have specific results that you can share?
We are in development mode right now, so we'll be launching in fourth quarter this year. So, and we're talking to 3 different merchants that we're getting ready to launch yet. So I can't give you firsthand experience yet. So I can only speak in terms of our business model that we're launching to these merchants. So the merchants are very excited for several things. One is that they can brand it, and so it's their product, it's their service. The second thing is the interchange fees that really caught their attention. The third is the revolving line of credit that they can use over and over and over and over again for the consumer. So those are the 3 things that are really capturing their attention, is that retention.
Yeah, it kind of sounds like, especially, the Waltons come to mind, yeah, they go down to the store and they get some food and it's on the bill, and takes it home, and then they just run a little debt there.
Put it on my account.
Yeah, put it on my account.
Yeah.
It's that kind of very nice convenience.
Right.
Cool.
All right, thank you very much.